Ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for remaining with us. You're watching Smart 24 Financial Markets, and my name is Anthony, your host, and we're looking at the stock market. Now, if you're new to this, if it's your first time here, the stock market in Uganda has been in existence since 1997, and that was after the initiation of the Uganda Security Exchange and the Capital Markets Authority. Under the Capital Markets Authority Act, definitely with the listing of a couple of counters that government was seeking to make public, from government bodies to public bodies that are owned by individuals in the public. And definitely we have since then been able to accumulate 18 listings. That is the companies that are listed, over 18 companies. And these companies come on the market after what is known as an IPO, which is the initial public offer, and that gives you the very first time a company is coming to the public to seek capital, and that's why we call them capital markets, because companies are looking to grow and expand come to the public with a need of capital, saying that, hey, if you want, you can give me some money in terms of capital, and I will grow. When I grow, I promise when I make profit, I will return some to you, either via dividends or by growing your stock. I promise to add value to your money, but I also will help. I'll be able to use the money you've given me to grow and expand and make more money. So that in that bid of looking for capital, and also people looking to get ownership in these companies, also getting to increase the value of their money, maybe getting to save. So these two people meet, the savers and the capital, the people in need of capital. And this is what makes the stock market what it is. And on the Uganda market, as I said, we have 18 listings. And now 10 of these are domestic, while 8 of these are cross listings from Nairobi, from especially Nairobi Stock Exchange. And these listings give you several products, but in Uganda mainly we are looking into only shares, buying shares in these companies. But of course there are other products that we may talk about, ranging from derivatives, several other things, ETFs and so on. But on the market here we look into the shares that are in these companies. Now when we come to the shares, definitely there is what we call a share price, and this share price is the price tagged to a certain stock for a given counter. The counter is the company listed on the stock exchange. Now this particular price is the price at which you can be able to buy or sell. And the Uganda Security Exchange says that, hey, we have a 15% window where you can sell either above within the window of 15% or below within still the window of 15%. And this helps, have flexibility on the market. And that's why we see prices changing every now and then, because all this depends on demand and supply. And the more you have demand and less supply, that means the prices definitely will have to go up, as people will seek to gain value for the current shares they have, since there's a high demand on those shares. And then the more supply you have, if you have a lot more supply than your demand, then we can see the value of the stocks also going down, just like the commodities market that we know about in our economics. And so now looking at just yesterday's trading, as I said, the markets here in Uganda open at exactly 9 a.m. and close 1 p.m. Just yesterday, we are seeing that Bank of Baroda came out on top, and we would love to see how Bank of Baroda has been performing. But briefly about Bank of Baroda before we go into its performance. We are seeing that Bank of Baroda is a subsidiary of Bank of Baroda India, and it was incorporated in 1969 as a subsidiary of this particular Bank of Baroda in India, and is one of the leading banks in Asia, with over 2,750 branches in over 17 countries across the continent. The bank has been operating in Uganda since 1953 when it began as an overseas branch of Baroda, Bank of Baroda in India. Subsequent to its incorporation in Uganda, the government of Uganda acquired 49% shareholding of the Bank of Baroda, leaving Bank of Baroda India with only about 51%. Now, Bank of Baroda is also one of the main international banks in Uganda, with 6 branches around the country, offering a range of products, including savings and current accounts, custodial services, and brokerage and investment advisory. However, the brokerage part of Bank of Baroda, which was Baroda Capitals, was actually closed earlier this month. Of course, pending certain financial issues, but they had actually a brokerage firm, an independent brokerage firm that came to be known as Baroda Capitals. But right now, we are seeing that they're mainly into custodial services, into current and savings accounts, and maybe as well as investment advisory. Bank of Baroda is listed on the Uganda Security Exchange and has been listed on the exchange since the 14th of November in 2002. So it has been listed for the past 20 years on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And Bank of Baroda is traded under the ticker symbol BOBU or BOBU, and the international securities identification number for Bank of Baroda is UG0000 and a couple of zeros ending with 55. Now, Bank of Baroda is currently in the position of 13, that is in the most valuable stocks ranking on the Uganda Security Exchange, with the total market capitalization of about 213 billion Ugandan shillings, which is about 0.977%. That is of the Uganda Security Exchange equity market. Meaning, on the stock market, when we talk about the market capitalization, we're talking about the total value of the shares that are listed on the exchange. Now, Bank of Baroda has 213 billion worth of shares that are listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And the Uganda Securities Exchange is over about 21.9 trillion Ugandan shillings in terms of market capitalization. And Bank of Baroda, since it has 213, this represents a 0.977% of the total market capitalization on the Uganda Securities Exchange. That is definitely a brief about Bank of Baroda, Uganda. Now, looking into the performance of the company on the exchange, yesterday Bank of Baroda closed its last trading day, that is 13th of July 2022, at 85 Ugandan shillings per share. That was recording a 6.3% gain over its previous closing price of 80%. And of course, Bank of Baroda Uganda began the year with a 95.5 Ugandan shillings share price per share, but has since witnessed a loss of 11% of that price valuation, ranking it the 10th on the Uganda Security Exchange in terms of year-to-date performance. Bank of Baroda, however, you have to take note of this, is the #1 most traded stock on the Uganda Security Exchange. And this has been over the past 3 months, that is starting from March 31st to July 13th of 2022. Bank of Baroda has a total volume of about 56.1 million shares that are valued at 4.43 billion Ugandan shillings that have traded over the period between the month of March 31st and July 13th alone, with an average of about 891,228 traded shares per session. A volume high of about 27.5 million has been reached, and on July 13th, during the same period. The table now, of course, we are going to show you the table there that shows the current totals that we have on the Bank of Baroda stock. If you can see here, we are seeing that just of yesterday 13th, we have 27,510,940 shares that were traded. Of course, the figures here could get a little bit confusing, but you just have to follow at least the rounding off of the millions. We have 27.5 million shares traded on a single day and closing the market with a price of 85 Ugandan shillings, and each share at 5 Ugandan. Of course, we have seen each share go up by 5 Ugandan shillings to a change of 6.25%. Now, why is this stock the most traded? On the stock market, we have not had a single counter trade this much shares in just a period of 3 months. We're looking at 27.5 million shares in just a single day that have been traded. No wonder the price has moved to 85. So meaning if you're investing in this stock, you are at least sure there's someone who is going to be interested in either buying your stock or either being able to sell on the stock market. So I think it provides good liquidity, and it's a company, if you're looking into investing in a company that can easily be liquidated, it's something, if you're looking to liquidate shares, it's easy to liquidate on a market like the one of Bank of Baroda. Just on 5th of July, we had 10,500 shares that were traded, closing the market at 80 cents, meaning the price is a little bit stable. And if you remember from the brokerage firms that we have been able to host here on the show, one of the things they have been keen at is the risk appetite of the several investors. Now, some investors would want a stock that has stable pricings, that doesn't go so much up, doesn't go down, it's just stable. And Bank of Baroda has just witnessed that over at least the last 2 months. Looking also into 30th of June, they traded 207,650 shares. And these also closed the market price with the market price of 80 cents. Still very stable and a very big volume there. And then looking into 29th of June, they traded about 351,400 shares. And that was about 80 shillings that we're witnessing on the closing price. Then on the 28th, still that day before, we saw about 144,800 shares that were traded, closing the market at 80 Ugandan shillings with no changes in this particular price. Now, this just represents data from about 1 month ago about how these, this particular counter, the Bank of Baroda counter, has been trading. And according to data from the Uganda Security Exchange, it is the number one stock over the last 3 months that has traded the highest volume of shares. Now, let's have a look at the graph here on the Bank of Baroda graph, seeing how it has also been able to perform. Now, looking at this graph here, we are seeing that the stock market, the stock prices for this particular counter have been quite stable. As you can see, all these flat lines, and just one big fluctuation, and then another big flat line. It is a quite stable kind of counter that if you are a risk-averse person and you look into investing safely in the stock, it is one stock you can consider. Let's have a look at just yesterday. It went up to 85, but has been trading on 80 for quite some days, a couple of weeks actually. If you can look on this graph, there's a flat line, meaning no fluctuation at all in several days in a row. And then we are seeing that at 85, it has just gone back, but we see that in the period between May and June, we see the flat line indicating the fact that these prices were stable at 85 for all that time. Now on May 20, we're seeing in May 2022, the prices went down a little bit from 85 to around 80, and then down still. There was a little downward peak there at in the month of May that saw it, for a one-day loss to about below 75, and then we see it before that it was still trading above 85 Ugandan shillings, and all this time between the month of February to the month of May, we're seeing a stable price or of around 90, 95 Ugandan shillings. Now, of course, in January, we saw that the stock began with the price of 95.5 Ugandan shillings. And that price was also stable for quite some weeks until it went a little bit down in the month of February. Now, before that, the stock still in December was trading at 95, but then we see that that was as a result of a little drop that happened in the month of December from a price of about 110, 115, that was in November, down to a price of about 95 at the beginning of the month of January, and that is at the beginning of the year 2022, meaning it came down from 110 in November to around 100 and then to 95 at the beginning of the year. So meaning above we are seeing that there was a flat line that was flattening at around 110 Ugandan shillings, meaning the price hasn't been that turbulent for the Bank of Baroda counter over the past couple of months. That's why it is a counter someone who is risk averse can look at investing in. And now let's look at these trading day results for just a couple of months back. We're seeing opening prices didn't change that much, and we're seeing that the day's low price wasn't also that important, and the day's high. But we're seeing a volume, like I mentioned yesterday, of over 27.5 million. This is not the first block volume. We are seeing a big volume being traded on the Bank of Baroda stock. We are seeing that on the date of the 24th of June 2022, they also traded 1.05 million shares. So they are good at having these big volumes on a daily, and that's why it's the #1 most traded stock on the Ugandan market. If you're looking for liquidity, it's one option you can actually look out for. The number of deals wasn't indicated, but we can see that the gross turnover is 2.34 billion in just this, looking at these 27.5 million shares that were traded yesterday. The outstanding shares are 2.5 billion shares, and the market capitalization, like we have said, is 213 billion Ugandan shillings. And when we talk about the market capitalization, we're looking at the share price, the current share price, multiplied by the total number of outstanding shares, giving us the total value of those shares. So that market capitalization currently stands at 213 billion Ugandan shillings. That is a little bit about Bank of Baroda. Now, the services Bank of Baroda offers are definitely financial services. As we have mentioned, it offers current and savings accounts for clients, investment advisory, and a couple of other things. Meaning on the market, its competitors include banks like Kenya Commercial Bank, Equity Bank Limited. We are looking at Stanbic Bank Uganda, the National Insurance Corporation. We're looking at DFCU Bank, and we're also looking at Jubilee Holdings Limited, Centum Investment Company, and the like. The Bank of Baroda issuers of stock of Uganda Security Exchange have only 7 competitors on the market, and definitely Bank of Baroda is a good, giving them an edge of competition there, given the data from the Uganda Securities Exchange. Thank you very much for remaining with us. We're going into a short break. We return, of course, with the counter that came out on the bottom, Wumeme. We're going to also look at some highlights of the performance of Wumeme. But for Bank of Baroda, just leave it here. It is the #1 most traded stock and went up by 5 Ugandan shillings yesterday to 85. Now the market is open, and of course, as I always mention, when you look at some of these stocks, they provide investment opportunities for you. And definitely you can now do that with Altex East Africa by dialing *292# using your MTN line, and you'll be able to access some of these stocks and be able to trade. Or you can dial *165# and then follow the prompts to financial services 6, and then you go to Uganda Security Exchange option 5, and you will be able to also be able to open an SCD account and be able to trade on some of these very, very attractive counters. Thank you for remaining with us. We're going into a short break. We return with the Women's Talk.